Okay, so get this right. A pregnant woman's diet during a famine can actually impact the health of her grandchildren. It's wild, but it's true. Today, we're going a deep dive into epigenetics. We're going to uncover how the choices you make as a parent can have a real impact on your child's future, even at the genetic level. Now, we're not talking about like changing their DNA sequence or anything. It's more about influencing which genes get turned on or,
Yeah.
off.
Think of it like your genes are the blueprint for a house, okay? But then epigenetics are what decide which rooms get furnished and how, it's all about gene expression. And the amazing thing is all these external factors actually play a huge role.
So it's like we're what, the interior decorators of our children's genetic potential? Whoa, it's pretty mind-blowing, right?
Yeah. It really is. I mean, we've seen this play out in some pretty dramatic ways. Take the Dutch hunger winter, for example. Okay, so pregnant women who faced famine during that time, they gave birth to children who were predisposed to health problems decades later. And get this, even their grandchildren, they showed similar predispositions.
Wow. That's some heavy stuff. I mean, but doesn't that make you wonder what kind of impact our everyday choices have? I mean, like what we eat, how
Yeah.
much we exercise, even, how we handle stress.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. That's the empowering part of epigenetics, right? You have a lot more influence than you might think. There are four key areas where your choices can make a huge difference. Nutrition,
Mhm.
the emotional environment you create, physical activity, and sleep.
All right, let's unpack this a bit. Starting with nutrition. I know that what I eat during pregnancy is important, and of course, feeding my child a healthy diet, that's a given. But how does this actually impact gene expression?
Well, there was a 2013 study from the University of Southampton, and they found a direct link between a mother's diet during pregnancy and her child's risk of obesity and chronic diseases later in life. What's fascinating is that it all comes down to, those epigenetic changes that we've been talking about.
So it's not just about like, getting enough of the right nutrients and things. It's almost like those food choices are sending signals that turn certain genes like on or off. That's
Like,
crazy.
exactly. Imagine genes are like these tiny construction crews just like waiting for their instructions. So healthy food choices, what they do is they provide the right blueprints for building, a strong and resilient body. And this continues on way beyond pregnancy. What you feed your child can actually literally shape their health for years to come.
Okay, so we're not just fueling their bodies, for today. We're literally influencing their long-term health, like at a genetic level. That's a pretty powerful thought. So what about the emotional environment? How does that factor into all of this?
Well, creating a loving and low stress environment for your child can actually activate genes that promote emotional resilience. It's about providing a sense of safety and security, right? And this allows their brains and bodies to develop in a healthy way.
So creating a calm and supportive environment. That's not just about keeping the peace at home. It's about giving them an epigenetic advantage when it comes to like handling stress and emotions later in life.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. And a key component of this is emotional regulation. Children learn by watching their parents. So when you model healthy ways to cope with stress and difficult emotions, you're teaching them valuable skills that are going to benefit them throughout their lives.
It's amazing to think that even like seemingly small interactions,
Yeah.
like how we react to a spilled glass of milk or something, that can have these ripple effects on a genetic level.
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. And speaking of ripple effects, let's move on to physical activity. We all know exercise is good for us, right? But it actually goes much deeper than that. Physical activity can actually flip the switch, so to speak, on genes that help fight inflammation, boost the immune system, and even protect DNA from damage.
Hold on. So we're talking about like actual genetic changes that lead to a longer and healthier life just from exercising.
Yes. Yes, even short bursts of activity can make a difference. There was a study published in Cell Metabolism that showed just how responsive our bodies are to movement.
That's incredible. So it's like
Yeah.
those little bursts of energy, right? They're sending a message to our genes being like, "Hey, we're active, we're alive.
Yeah.
Come on, let's get these health boosting systems up and running."
Exactly. And let's not forget about sleep. It's not just about feeling rested.
Hmm.
Getting enough sleep actually influences gene activity related to brain development, stress response, so much more.
Oh, yeah. I've definitely noticed a difference you know, in my kids' mood and focus, like depending on how much sleep they get.
Yeah.
But I never really thought about it on like, a genetic level before.
It's pretty fascinating, isn't it? When children get enough sleep, it's like their brains can really build and organize all the information they took in during the day. But then on the flip side, sleep deprivation can actually activate genes that increase inflammation and trigger those like fight or flight stress responses.
So a good night's sleep, it's not just about preventing meltdowns. It's about like setting them up for success on a deeper level, really.
Right, right. And all of these things, nutrition, emotional environment, physical activity, sleep, they all work together. They all work together to shape your child's development. It's like an intricate dance between, genes and the environment.
Yeah. It's incredible to think about just how how interconnected it all is.
Mm.
But I know sometimes these concepts can feel, a bit abstract. Like, uh, do you have any like real world examples, of how parents are using these principles to like, make a difference?
Oh, of course. I recently spoke with a family who was really intentional about incorporating these ideas into their daily lives. They had a 6-year-old son, Arjun,
Mm.
and he was struggling with some behavioral issues and had a lot of trouble focusing at school.
Hmm. Yeah, that's tough. So what do they do?
Well, they started by making some simple changes to their diet. So instead of, sugary cereals for breakfast, they switched to whole grains, fruit, and yogurt. They also made sure to include, plenty of vegetables and healthy fats in their meals.
Okay, so pretty straightforward changes, really, to the food they were already eating. What about the emotional environment at home? Like how did they work on that?
They really focused on creating a calm and predictable routine. They established a consistent bedtime routine to help Arjun get enough sleep, and they made an effort to be more mindful of their own stress levels, and
Mm.
how they were reacting to Arjun's behavior.
So it was about making small, sustainable changes, changes that would support Arjun's, overall well-being. I'm guessing it wasn't always easy, though, was it?
It definitely took, it took some effort
Yeah.
and consistency for sure. But the amazing thing is that after about a year, they started to see some really positive changes in Arjun. He had more energy. He was able to focus better at school, and his emotional outbursts became less frequent and intense.
Wow, that's incredible. So not only did they see improvements in his behavior, right, but they were also like influencing his health, at a genetic level. That's pretty powerful stuff.
It really is, and it highlights how much influence parents have, in shaping their child's development, even beyond, what's passed down through DNA. It's about creating an environment where their genes can express themselves in a healthy and positive way.
It's almost like we're giving our children,
Like,
the best possible tools to build like a strong foundation for their lives.
exactly. It's not about, changing their genes. It's about giving them the best chance to thrive. And the best part is it doesn't require grand gestures or complicated interventions or anything. It's about those everyday choices that we often, take for granted.
Yeah. It's about, the meals we prepare, the words we speak, the activities we choose, and the sleep we prioritize.
Yeah. And this brings us to an important question for you, the listener. What does this mean for you and your family? How can you apply these principles in your own life?
Right. It's great to learn about all of this, but how do we make it actionable? I think it starts with, awareness, being mindful of those four key areas we discussed, right? Nutrition, emotional environment, physical activity, and sleep. It can be overwhelming to think about making like big changes, but even small adjustments can make a difference, right?
Yeah, that's a great point. It's not about, being perfect. It's progress, not perfection, as they say. So like could you swap out one sugary drink a day for water, or maybe add an extra serving of vegetables to dinner, or what about creating like a calming bedtime routine with a warm bath and a story?
Those are great examples. Like little tweaks to our daily habits can have it can have a ripple effect.
Exactly. And it's never too late to start, right? Whether you're expecting a child or raising a toddler or even have teenagers, you can still make choices that support their well-being now and in the future.
I love that. It's like we're empowering not only our children but also ourselves. You know,
Yeah.
we have more control than we might think.
Absolutely. And here's something to ponder as we wrap up, okay? If your choices can influence your child's gene expression, right? Then could understanding your own parents' choices and the environment you grew up in provide insights into your current health and tendencies?
Whoa.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a really interesting question. It makes you think about how much of who we are is shaped by these unseen forces.
Right. It's like a whole new layer of understanding ourselves and our families.
Yeah.
And while we can't change the past, right? We can use this knowledge to make more informed choices for ourselves and for future generations.
It's empowering to realize that we're not just passive recipients of our genes, right?
Mhm.
We're active participants in shaping our health and well-being.
Exactly. Epigenetics reminds us that we have more agency than we might think. It's a call to action, to make those everyday choices count, knowing that they can have a lasting impact on the lives of our children and even generations to come.
Well, I think we've given you a lot to think about today. I know my mind is racing with possibilities.
I agree. This has been a fascinating exploration. And remember, this is just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to epigenetics. There's so much more to discover and learn.
Hopefully this deep dive has, sparked your curiosity and
Yeah.
inspired you to consider those everyday choices in a new light.
Who knows? Maybe it will even lead to a few small changes that could have a big impact down the road, right?
Thanks for joining us on this incredible journey, into the world of epigenetics. Keep learning, keep exploring, and keep making those choices count.